meeting this is, Ashok and Samarth. What meeting are we on? Number 7?
I think it's number 7, yeah.
Yeah, so number 7. And today we have the great pleasure of Mr. Shea Treadway. I'll go into his background real quickly. I spent the better part of 10 years working alongside Mr. Treadway and had an opportunity to meet him. And so he's agreed to speak to us today. He's calling in from Denver, Colorado. So this has been one of the great things about COVID is we have an opportunity to tap into different speakers across the country. So that's been nice. So by way of introduction, Mr. Treadway is currently the Vice President of Small Business for Unum. Unum is a Fortune 500 company that specializes in group life and disability insurance. I'll let him tell you more about that. So he spends a lot of time traveling throughout the country, in particular to their headquarters in Portland, Maine. He's a guy that just said he had 110 separate flights via Delta. So he spends a lot of time traveling throughout the United States. He's also unique in the sense that he has spent his entire working career at Unum. And I think you'll find that most people have about 5 or 6 different positions or different companies they work for. Shea has spent his entire time at Unum. And again, I think it speaks to what a great company Unum is. And obviously, Shea will talk more about that. Prior to starting at Unum, he grew up in Georgia and had the opportunity to go to Yale University, where he played both football and baseball, and also graduated with a degree in political science. So I think you guys are all familiar with Yale. It's a school on the East Coast. It's got a pretty good reputation. And then anyway, and beyond that, right now he actually lives with his wife, Sarah, in Denver, Colorado. He has 4 children. Of them are under the age of 6, so he keeps himself busy with that. In addition to his political science degree, he also found time to get an MBA from the University of Michigan. So he's a busy man, very accomplished. And with that, I introduce you to Mr. Treadway.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much for the intro, and really, really excited to spend time with you all today. What a great forum you all have created here. And tell you, I wish going back to my last few years in high school, I wish I would have had access to this kind of forum and someone like Mr. Arnold here, kind of leading the charge here. So what a great set of kind of speakers and events you all are doing, and again, honored to be part of it. It sounds like the bar has already been set with the last 6, so hopefully I can at least meet what you've learned from some of the other ones. So I thought today what I'd do is maybe I'll just give you a little bit of background, my personal background, with my, hopefully will be interesting. Talk a little bit around the company that I work for. As Pat mentioned, I've been almost 20 years with the same company. I feel like I've had 5 or 6 different careers within the company, but it's all been with the same logo, which is kind of interesting. And then maybe I'll just spend a few minutes around some of the roles I've had and what some of the experiences I picked up in each of those roles. And then if we have time, I do have a few just key learnings I thought I'd share with each of you as you think about embarking upon, college careers and careers in general. If there are a couple things you can take from my learnings, then hopefully that's helpful for you all. And I'll try to keep it, to 15, 16 minutes or so we can have plenty of time for questions. We'll do that at the end. But if there's anything I'm hitting on that you're curious about mid sentence or mid conversation, feel free to interrupt or raise your hand or whatever team's appropriate way to interject, and let's have a conversation. Sound good?
So Shea, yeah, one thing, all questions will go through Ashok, so he's our moderator.
Okay.
So he'll take care of all the process that way.
Great. Yeah. So Ashok, if you want to interrupt, if there's something you can expand upon or anything else, happy to do that. And if not, we'll do some Q&A at the end. All right.
Awesome. And if you guys have questions, just remember to send them to me via Teams chat.
Great. Awesome. So yeah, maybe just a little bit about my background. So I, as Pat mentioned, I grew up in Georgia. I grew up actually in a pretty small town in South Georgia, about an hour outside of Atlanta. Small town that was a former mill town, right? So a lot of textile industries, and as most of you know, a lot of those kind of businesses have dried up and gone overseas, and so just had a unique perspective of growing up in an economically challenged small town, and as an 18-year-old, picked up and flew to Hartford, Connecticut, and got off the airplane not knowing a soul to go to Yale, and just a great experience to do that for 4 years, living in a totally different place, being exposed to people from all over the world, getting to play a couple sports, probably longer than I should have based on my talent. And it just had a really good experience. And, to this day, taking that big step to go, somewhere that was very uncomfortable for me, where you met a ton of people that you would have never met if you didn't put yourself in that kind of new, interesting environment. I think what I learned from having that such positive experience of going somewhere totally different and picking up and moving to a new place, I've really tried to carry that throughout my life. And without that initial step as an 18-year-old, I might have missed out, or might have been more cautious in the rest of my career and other things. And again, just a good lesson, I think, that I was able to learn, early on. Immediately after college, I actually started with Unum. And I'll tell you a little bit about our company in a minute, but I've had the pleasure of almost 20 years working for the same company. And I moved all over the country and had a bunch of different roles and met a bunch of great people, both inside the company and even, outside the company, like Pat here as well, and had some great experiences, again, moving around, taking new assignments and doing those things. I did have a chance as I guess a relatively old man, college-wise, to go back and did the executive MBA program in Michigan. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I did that, and again, another really neat experience, kind of deeper into my working career to totally get outside of my comfort zone and be around people from different industries and different job functions, and learn things that I don't see in my day-to-day job that I think are going to help me as my career continues to progress. So, kind of exciting experience there. Unum. So Unum's a Fortune 500 company. We are an insurance company that's really focused on the employee benefit part of the business. So we work with companies that have 2 employees or have 200,000 employees and everything in between to help them manage their benefit programs. And so think about our company as really anything that's not health insurance or retirement program, kind of the rest of the benefit portfolio that you will have access to as an employee one day. That's where we play. So whether it's insurance products, things like life or disability or dental or vision, those kind of products. We do a lot of HR technology work, so integration with technology platforms that companies use to manage their benefits and other parts of kind of their human resources responsibilities. Do a lot of work there. And then we also do a lot of work with HR process outsourcing. So large employers that are looking for help with things like complying with family medical leave or the Americans with Disabilities Act and things like that. We do a lot of outsourced work for large employers around all those things. So it gives you a sense of kind of where we spend our time. And we're based in the U.S., but we have operations in the U.K. and Poland and Ireland and a few other places across the globe as well. And so that's a little bit about the company. Again, I feel very fortunate. I've been surrounded by very talented people my whole career. I've been motivated to work hard for the people that I work with and for, and throughout my career. And as I think as you get into the stage of career searching and looking for companies to work for, even in kind of internship experiences, I would just encourage you to think about the culture of the company, the people that work for the company, and what you're going to pick up, not only from the products and services that company sells, but what you're going to gain from a developmental standpoint in working with really neat people throughout your career. So it's a little bit about kind of my early background and the company. Shuk, any questions on any of that, or you just kind of keep powering through there?
You're all good.
All right, good deal. So maybe so as I mentioned, I feel like I've had 5 or 6 different careers in my time with Unum, which again is almost 2 decades now. So I thought maybe I'd give you a sense of each of those roles and maybe kind of how I've thought about each of those. And then maybe to wrap up, again, I'll spend some time on some key learnings that I've picked up along the way that I think might be good things for you to take with you as you leave the call. But my first role, so I started as a sales rep. So I was out in the market selling our products and services as a kid right out of college. And my early opportunity was, so I went back to Atlanta after college, kind of close to home, and I was given the exciting opportunity to go to Alabama every week and be a traveling insurance salesman, driving to Birmingham and Montgomery and Huntsville, Alabama, which is pretty much every kid at Yale's dream, when they graduated, was to be a traveling insurance salesman and get to go to Alabama every week. And I'll tell you what, it was maybe the greatest experience I've had in my working career was doing that. Taking a sales territory that nobody wanted, a sales territory that had no history of success in it, and build that in my own business was just full of lessons that I learned along the way. And frankly, I don't think without that experience, I would have been nearly as prepared for the rest of what's happened since then. And so again, I think again, maybe a lesson from that piece was just taking the tough assignment that nobody else wanted and making something really good out of it. From there, after being in sales for 5 or 6 years, I started to realize that leadership was something I was interested in. And at Unum, we have a pretty formal management development program that I kind of went through the application process. It's a pretty grueling interview process to go through. And, as a 26, 27-year-old, was able to get into that program and then start thinking about what was next in my career. And that's kind of a prerequisite to applying for leadership roles within the company. And after that, actually, my first management opportunity was to be kind of the assistant manager in our Atlanta office. And I didn't get the job. And it was at the time I was frustrated and a little upset about it. And again, it was one of those things where thank goodness I didn't, because it set me up on a different path, which was absolutely rewarding. And what that path was going out and being the #1 manager in Denver. So it was my first chance to get into leadership, first chance to have my own kind of region to be responsible for. And Denver was interesting because it was just an unsuccessful office that had little, kind of little history of success and reputation in the marketplace. And so, kind of like the sales territory, to get a chance to move to an office, be the leader, and build a brand, build a culture, build the team that you want to build. Just had a really interesting opportunity to do that and really enjoyed my time in Denver. And by the way, that's why I live in Denver now, because during that time period, met my future wife, and we ended up kind of back here a few years ago. So after Denver, I had a chance to go to a bigger market, and this is where my path first crossed with Pat and his organization, and that was moving to San Francisco to manage our Northern California and Hawaii operations. And what was different about that job was one, it was much bigger in terms of the size of the business and the territory and the market and those things, but it was also a very unprofitable business for our company. And so it wasn't building a reputation or building a team as much as it was rebuilding a business to make positive contributions for our company. And so again, having the chance to really totally have a new view of the leadership role, because it was a profit challenge, not a reputation challenge. So again, learned a ton. And from that role, got a chance to actually get promoted to a regional vice president role. So I ran the Midwest part of the country for our company for 5 or 6 years. And for me, that was my first time actually leading senior leaders. And so, very different kind of role when you're managing senior experienced executives for a company, and just a ton of, good learnings in that experience as well. While I was in that role, I did the back to school deal, which was fun as well. So I had a chance to balance, kind of a high pressure, busy job with new kids in the household, and also going back to school, flying to Michigan a couple times a month. So great experience, but a lot going on during that time period, and all of it worthwhile. And then about a year ago, my boss at the time, who Pat knows well, Chris Pine, asked me to step out of that role and help us build a business focused around small employers. And so what's unique about that is, we've always been in the business of supporting small employers, but we never had a segmented business around it. There wakes up every day and all they think about is small business. So getting a chance to lead that has been really interesting. And what's interesting for me is it's it's very much a startup company inside the walls of a Fortune 500 company. And like most startups, you want to try to find some revenue pretty quickly. And good news is we have about $1 billion of annual revenue in small employers. So not a true startup in the sense that you got to go kind of build customers to get started, but really building a business around how do we maximize the value we provide to those clients and then grow the business as rapidly as we can, which has been great. So again, that gives you probably a little bit of sense around, some of the roles I've taken and maybe some of the unique challenges along the way. And maybe I'll just kind of wrap up with, so we have time for Q&A, but wrap up a little bit with some of my key learnings, throughout my time. And a few things, and again, everybody's going to have unique challenges as you think about college and as you think about your working career and those things. But some things that have really just stayed true kind of in my mindset as I've thought about career and college and career. And the first thing is just around taking risk. And don't be afraid to take a step in an uncomfortable place, take a role that nobody else wants or that seems a little bit scary, or go to college in a place that seems like it's far away from home. Whatever it is, don't be afraid to take risk. And to me, that's how I've tried to approach my career and really life around. If you stay in comfortable places, around every decision point you have to make, you're just going to miss meeting great people. You're going to miss learning a ton. You're going to miss the opportunity to really accelerate your career, your life, and those things as well. So take risk. The second one is probably related to that, but it's just taking the tough assignment. And you're going to get chances in college, in your career, to sign up for an initiative, to sign up for a project, to sign up for a role, whatever it may be. And folks that will raise their hand and take the tough gig and take the job that's really hard, or take the job that might have a ton of upside but has some downside as well. Those folks are gonna do really well. And so take the tough assignment. Don't be afraid to raise your hand for the project. Think about it, even when you're in your internship programs in your college years. If there's a chance to raise your hand to take on something and make an impact, you won't regret it, and it'll make a big difference for you. The third thing I'd say is, your career path does not have to be a straight line. You're going to have unique opportunities to take lateral moves, to take promotions, to go work in different divisions in a company, whatever it may be. And I would say my most current role in leading our small business segment is a direct result of being okay with career path not having to be a straight line. And I've told our most senior leaders throughout my career, as I've had developmental conversations, please don't put me on the traditional path. If there's a role that I can take to contribute in a different way that might not be the normal kind of business path, I'm good with that. I want to learn new things. I want to try new things. I want to be exposed to parts of business that I'm not going to see if I stay on the defined career path. And so I just would encourage you to kind of keep that point around. It doesn't have to be a straight path. Does not have to be predictable. Raise your hand, try new things, and it'll pay off. The fourth thing I'll point out is just focus, no matter what career you find yourself in and what job path you take. Focus on being a broad business person, not just an expert in your company's business. It is something, as I was, leading salespeople and training and hiring salespeople throughout my career, something I preached a lot, and probably to the point of frustration to a lot of my rookies throughout the years. But it's one thing for, and I'll just use our sales reps as an example. It's one thing for them to know, everything about our products and services and everything about our competitors' products and services, and that's great, and that's kind of the price of entry to be successful. But I want to also understand what challenges are our employers facing that are even outside of our business. As you think about where Mr. Arnold came from in his business, what is he trying to accomplish for his firm and for his clients and those kind of things. And I think, again, if you can focus on being a well-rounded business person versus just being a very good employee of the organization you work for, again, the sky's the limit there. And so, again, just one more thing. And then the last thing I'll point out is just engagement in the community. And I think some of the things that I've learned the most in business and personally and even with my family is finding ways to be very focused around where can I make an impact in my community has made, to me, just as much of an impact on my life, and I think the lives around me, as what I've done kind of professionally as well. And so, as you get out in the working world, or as you're, in college, even, finding things. My first real volunteer experience was in college, getting involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and from there, just kind of learned that there's a bunch of different ways you can make an impact. And I can tell you, I've met more incredible people, I think, doing board work and being involved in the community as I have doing anything else. And would just encourage you as you think about getting settled in your career and in college and other things, find ways to give back. And I promise you'll get more out of that than you'll ever give to an organization that you get involved in. So those are kind of some key learnings there, and hopefully this is helpful conversation. I know we have some time for Q&A, and I know Shea or Pat, did I miss anything or anything else you want me to hit on?
No, that was great. Thank you. So I guess I'll just get started with the questions here. The first one we have is that you mentioned a lot about the importance of not taking a traditional career path. So I guess in the Silicon Valley, it's like the technological capital of the world. So we all sort of think in that direction, I guess. So how would you recommend we sort of not take the traditional career path? And what are some things that you did that you think really benefited you there?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, first of all, where you all are located right now, I mean, the opportunities you have compared to most across the country, really across the world, are probably greater than almost anyone else in the world, right? So you should feel really fortunate to be in the place you are and take full advantage of that. So just know that your starting point is better than most, which I think is a great thing. I would say, I mean, no matter where you go, what you're being exposed to around tech around you will play out in any kind of field you go into. So you think about, I mean, I work for a company that's 170 years old. It's a insurance company, right? And I don't think many people would think about us as being the most, kind of cutting edge high tech organization. But I tell you what, we have to be, and you have to be ahead of the curve when you think about investments in technology and how you connect with platforms externally and how you leverage talent that comes from tech backgrounds as well. So, I think, whether you decide to go into, the high tech world, in your backyard, or whether you think about, how application of tech skills and things might apply to other industries, it's all around us. And so you're not gonna be in a bad place by having expertise in your backyard there, for sure.
Awesome. I think one thing that's really unique about you as far as our speakers go is that you've been at the same company for your entire career. So what do you think are like the biggest benefits and maybe some downsides to doing so?
Yeah, I mean, I think, with anything, there's probably pros and cons, right? I wouldn't trade my time with my company for anything. And I think what's kept me here all the time is first of all, is just being surrounded by high quality people that inspire me every day. And so whether that's people I have had the good fortune of leading throughout my career, or the people that have led me throughout my career, just being surrounded by people that are hardworking and motivated to do the right thing and operate with integrity and think about, how we make a difference to our business and our communities. I mean, that to me is really important, and I've been able to find that in my career. Hey, could I become a head of sales at another company faster if I would have gone somewhere else? Probably, but again, I don't think I can look back and trade my experiences or where I've ended up, at least at this point, for anything. So, again, good and bad. I would just say, it's part of why I went back to school, back to business school, because I did recognize, hey, I've been with the same company 15, 16 years, so my perspective is pretty limited to my company, to my roles, and to my industry. And going to school actually helped me really broaden my perspective around other industries and places that I could spend time and learn from, which was great.
Awesome. So you also talked about building up the Denver branch of Unum and building a good culture there. What do you think are like the most important parts of a company's culture that maybe we should look out for when we're thinking about internships or jobs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think it's more and more important now than ever, right? I mean, people want to work for companies that are making the right impact, whether it's racial injustice action, whether it's how we treat our environment, whether it's how we operate ethically, with business practices and kind of all those things. I mean, that's the kind of company that people want to work for. And so I would say, as someone that's hired a lot of people, I've been more and more impressed by people coming out of college that have shown their passion for those things in the right way, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we are a big business that needs to turn a profit for shareholders and needs to grow our business. So like that part has to all happen, but you can do it in a way that respects all the other things that are happening around us, and with the right focus around things that makes our communities, kind of around us better as well. So I'd say, ask smart questions around things that are really important to you. Don't shy away from those, and make sure the organization you're going to join, aligns well with the values that are really important to you.
Awesome. Mr. Treadway, I had a question that came over to me, and it was over your past 20 years of experience in the insurance sales business, how has the shifting of technology really changed the way that you do business and sales?
It's tremendously different. And what I will tell you is when I started, we were an insurance company that was trying to figure out technology. I would say now you can't survive unless you're a technology company that also sells insurance. And so that's very much how we think about our business. And so, whether it's the tools and resources we build internally, around how we run and operate our business, or how we connect with, ecosystems out there that clients use to manage their benefits or other things, that's really important. I mean, I've learned more about APIs and, technology connections and data exchange and kind of all those things in the last 2 years than I did in the first 18 years. And so it's rapidly accelerating. Our salespeople today, when I was, coming up, you could do very well by being an expert on your products and understanding contract language and pricing and those kind of things. Today, that's important. But you better understand how the technology that employers work, how the technology they use works, how our company connects in with those technology platforms, what limitations technology platforms have based on the products you're selling. And our sales reps are very much tech reps now that are deploying insurance products across technology platforms. And that's very different than it was even really 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah. So one thing, again, I'm pretty interested in is your work with small businesses now, which I think is something that's come to the forefront of politics as well with COVID and everything. So what do you think is like the most unique part, I guess, of working with small businesses versus big companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, especially as you think about even the smaller ends, think about companies with 5, 10, 15 employees. What you don't have, it's specific to my world, right, around employee benefits, those companies don't have human resources professionals working for them, right? So they have a business owner that is trying to figure out how to manage their payroll and their employee benefits and their health insurance and hiring people and, filling out legal paperwork for tax, tax reasons for employees. They're trying to do all that on the side of their business while they also manufacture their product or service or develop their widget or whatever they're making. So in many ways, you've got small employers, you have fewer people wearing more hats. And so you've got to figure out a way to be really simple to work with and solve their problems. As we think about marketing messages in the small end of the market, we don't spend a lot of time talking about the need for dental insurance. We spend a lot of time talking about what are the compliance challenges that small businesses are facing? What are the technology needs that small businesses are dealing with? How are small employers thinking about payroll services and things like that? So trying to play a broader role and a broader set of issues for small employers because they just have so much on their plate. They can't afford to have specific experts hired to do every single different thing in their business, and that creates challenges and opportunities, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing again that you said was really formative for your career was taking that job in Alabama and sort of building up a sales community there that wasn't there before. So how did you sort of make that work, first of all, and then what did you sort of take away from that experience?
Yeah, what I found didn't work was every Thursday afternoon driving back to Atlanta, banging my head in the steering wheel, saying, "What the heck am I doing here?" So there was a year or 2 years of just trying the same things over and over again and they're not working. And I remember having some of those moments. So it's about a 2-hour drive back from Birmingham on Thursday afternoons, and I remember thinking like, I know I'm not stupid. I'm not working fewer hours than anybody else. I'm not a bad relationship person. Like, why isn't it working? And you're like, well, let me try some new things. Let me experiment with different types of clients or different ways to approach my business or different ways to build relationships or different kind of distribution partners to find. And so I think just adapting was something that I learned really quickly in that time period around. I mean, if you just try the same old things over and over again, it's not working. It's not going to miraculously turn around and start working for you. You got to be creative and you got to find different avenues to be successful. And I think that's something I learned during that time period that I've really tried to carry throughout my, the rest of my career.
Hey, Shea, you talked a little bit about transition or coming from a small town in Georgia and, going to almost a big city, big lights in New Haven at Yale. On top of that, playing football and baseball. Talk about the challenges of playing two sports, balancing the academics, and also some of the adversity you had to deal with, whether it be football, baseball, not being as successful as you may have liked.
Yeah, sure. No, it's well, there's a lot to learn. As you make first of all, for anybody, just going to college, right, is going to be a big adjustment, right? You're on your own for the first time. You're in charge of your own schedule for the first time. You're in charge of, in many ways, like your own finances a little bit, kind of for the first time. So I think it's a big transition for everyone. Yeah, and then you throw on, being far away, being in a tough academic environment, trying to play a couple sports, and having a little college fun along the way too. It's a lot to manage. And if I learned anything, it certainly is, one, you've got to be really disciplined around how you spend your time, and you all are probably learning that now, and but I think that only gets accelerated when you get to college. You got to use your time as wisely as possible, and you want to have fun, and you want to meet people, and you want to do kind of the college things that are some of the exciting parts of it, but using your time wisely around when can I study, when can I have dinner with friends, when do I go to practice, how do I use the extra 20 minutes in between two classes to get a head start on my work for that night, so that I can have a little bit more flexibility. And so I think those are skills that really play out throughout your career as well, that you really have to focus on. I think adversity wise, probably the biggest thing I faced, I had a pretty traumatic injury in college, actually twice. So I broke my tibia and fibula twice, freshman year and sophomore year, and actually had a third surgery my senior year. So pretty quickly realized that going to play baseball in the major leagues was probably not going to happen, since you got to be able to walk, to be able to do that. Your plans kind of get derailed, right? And you've got to kind of adjust accordingly. And it was part of why even making the decision to go, probably play a little bit lower level, baseball and football, but to get a higher level education was something that to me was a trade-off that, made it at 18 that was a smart decision, right? Because there's no guarantees in life at all. And there's certainly no guarantees in things like athletics, right? Because you never know what can happen. So I think just keeping priorities in line and understanding kind of what the big picture long term looks like for you, and then making sure that you're preparing yourself along the way to be ready for whatever happens. And if you take that kind of tack as you think about college and life in general, then you'll probably put yourself in a pretty decent position to be okay.
Awesome. I had one question about your time in NorCal and Hawaii, and I guess working with Mr. Arnold at that time. So was that part of what drove you to get the MBA, or what I guess drove you to get the MBA when you were in the Midwest?
Yeah, I think, certainly, and actually I debated doing it while I was in San Francisco. Obviously there's some great schools, in the Bay Area. Doing it in Denver and going to Michigan required a lot of airplane time as well, right? So that was not as convenient geographically. But, for me, and I think I hit on it a little bit earlier, I had been in sales and sales leadership positions, my whole career. I'd been in the same company, focused on the same products and services. And I felt like I had, maybe had limited myself a little bit because I'd been so narrow in my focus, career-wise. And so for me, going back to school was the opportunity to take finance courses, take accounting courses, take marketing courses, take statistics courses, all the things that I don't see in my day-to-day job up to that point. Because I knew in my career I wanted to go run a big P&L. I knew I wanted to be a senior most leader in our organization. And I thought that, by doing that and gaining that exposure and knowledge, I'd put myself in a better position, to be ready for that kind of assignment. And doesn't mean it's absolutely necessary, to do so. My direct manager, our EVP of our group division, is a history major, didn't go to business school and came up through our sales organization. So, you can certainly, make those big moves without doing that. But again, I just wanted that broader exposure to different industries and academic subjects that I knew would play out. And by the way, in my new role, that work in accounting and finance and marketing and corporate strategy has really played out nicely, and I think helped me more quickly get up to speed in the new role than if I hadn't had that experience.
And I'll interject there too as well, and echo the same sentiments of what Shea's saying. If I look at my own background, I was a history major and had very little training on the finance side. And for me, that was always something that was a weakness in my skill set. So I would highly recommend you guys at some point in your career going back to school and getting a good understanding of finance and accounting. I compensated that. I ended up marrying an accountant, but I don't advise that. I said it's better to be more independent and have your own skill set with respect to that. So I highly, highly recommend the path that Shea took.
Yeah. And by the way, along the way too, there's so much, you have so much access to education now, whether it's Coursera or, Yale has its own, kind of, online community of coursework where, you can take, Ivy League led finance or accounting courses, on your own even, right? So, even before you take the next step, grad school wise or whatever else, there are great ways to get exposure to all those kind of business topics or kind of educational gap areas you may have, and just take advantage of it. I mean, the world of education is moving so quickly that you've got almost anything you need at your fingertips. And by the way, I don't think that replaces being in the classroom with 60 people in your cohort and learning from your classmates, but certainly is a supplemental way to gain knowledge. There's a bunch of different ways to do it.
Yeah. So we're just nearing our time here. I just want to ask you one last question. Given that you went to a world-class institution, most of us are going to be attending college in the next few years. What do you think were like the biggest lessons you picked up from college, and how would you recommend we make most of our college experiences?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's actually something I spent a lot of time thinking about, and because you're at such a unique place in your life, and first of all, like I would trade places with every one of you right now and do it all over again. So I think the first piece is like, don't rush it. Don't wish you were in the next stage of life. Like live in the moment and extract every single penny of value you can get out of college. And there were times in my college, times where I was, hurt, getting through surgery where maybe I felt sorry for myself and maybe didn't get as much out of the, academic or social or kind of, whatever broad experience that college had to offer. And I would say take advantage of every single thing that your school has to offer, whether it's clubs or activities or the academic coursework or intramurals or debate clubs or whatever it may be. If I could go back and do it again, I would put 150% effort into extracting every single thing I could out of that experience. And the rest of your life is going to happen and let it come to you. But man, just soak it up, enjoy it, learn as much as you can. If you get homesick, kick yourself in the tail and say, hey, I'm here to learn a ton and to enjoy this experience and to meet incredible people. And I just enjoy it, love it. Don't miss 1 second of opportunity to gain as much as you can out of college as totally possible. And I would, if I could do it again, I would go even deeper into my college experience.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Treadway, for sharing your time with us. I definitely learned a lot from it. I'm sure the rest of our club members did as well. Thank you.
Good. I hope so. And best of luck to you all. And thank you very much. I feel very honored to have a chance to come speak with you all. And hey, wish you all the best of luck.
All right, Shea, again, thank you so much. That was a great 45 minutes there. A lot of great lessons and a lot of great advice. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. And as we end every presentation, guys, go Bells. Go Bells.
Go Bells.
Go Bells.
Go Bells.
Go Bells.
Go Bells.
All right, Shea, take care.
Thank y'all.